I'm Miss Zaritsky. I am a teacher over at Rio del Valle Middle School during the year. During the summertime, I have the opportunity to work with your kids and have some fun. So the past 3 weeks, I have been teaching them about why it's so important that we wear our masks during this time while we're at home. The title of my session is called Physiological Processes, and that's just a fancy way of saying that this is what's happening inside of our bodies. So I have a picture here of what are called B cells and T cells, and they're part of the army that fights against dangerous viruses in our blood. So we did start talking about cells within our very first week of camp. We also talked about bacteria and viruses. You may recognize these pictures off of the kids' Google Classroom. This is what I utilize to tell them that we have many different kinds of cells, and also those pesky viruses that aren't even alive also have different shapes and styles, and that is how our body has to recognize who they are to even fight the war against them. In the second week, I did talk about blood, those white blood cells, red blood cells. So the B cells and T cells that I had in the very beginning of the slideshow, those are examples of white blood cells, our army to fight for our immune system. So how is it that these viruses that aren't living are in the air? How do they even get into our blood? Well, in our third week, we started talking about the lungs and the parts of the lungs that matter, such as the alveoli. Sounds like ravioli. Ask your kids about them. So we have here Mr. Jacob Lee and Miss Autumn. They did a fantastic job in modeling the cell membrane. The cell membrane is going to be where the viruses are going to try to trick them to get in and multiply. We also had a little cup of oil and water to demonstrate how that oil kind of separates the inside of the cell and only lets certain things in and out. Here we have Miss Angeles, Miss Freddie, and Miss Yalixa. Excellent job, ladies. They talked about how the virus contains something called RNA, not DNA, which our cells do. But that just allows them to replicate a little faster and take over our cells. Here we have Miss Ariana, Mr. Alfonso, and Miss Areli. I have given them the option of reporting on a virus that's real, of their choice, or they can make one fictional, just so that they understand what symptoms are. So fever, coughing, sneezing, these are all just effects of the viruses that do enter in our cells. Vanessa, Giancarlo, and Christopher did an excellent job of creating their own viruses. Ooh, I would hate for those to get loose. We also drew cartoons about how those viruses make these pesky things called antigens, and how our white blood cells, the good guys, they're going to make the antibodies. Excellent job doing your cartoons, guys. Miss Ariana Alfaro and Miss Presley also did a phenomenal job on their cartoons. We also talked about blood, and the kids had made some videos demonstrating what each part of their blood had. Here we have Miss Ingrid Cruz talking to us about her demonstration.
I already made my blood. And two blood facts are that we have 1.5 gallons of blood, and another fact is that we have hundreds of tiny blood cells that look like this. That's how they look like. We have hundreds of them, and we also have a little bit of white white cells, and for cells that.
Excellent job, Miss Ingrid. So proud of your accomplishments. Here we have Mr.
For
Alfonso
my
Garcia.
project making blood, I use food coloring for hemoglobin. I use cornstarch for platelets, use corn syrup for plasma. I use marshmallows for white blood cells, and I use water for blood, which is 91% of our blood.
Well done, Mr. Alfonso. Some important facts there. Here we have Miss Angeles.
Hello, I'm Angeles from Physical Processes class, and we made this blood. Here's how the blood looks like. Of course, it's not real blood, and it turned out like an 8 out of 10 for me, in my opinion. And two facts about blood is that 7% of your weight is actually the blood in your body, of course, and there are white blood cells, red blood cells, of course, platelets, and plasma in your blood. So, like when you get a cut, all of that stuff comes out. And we use food coloring to make this red. Here's how the food coloring looks like. And we used cornstarch and corn syrup. And the corn syrup was supposed to be the plasma. And yeah. Bye.
Well said, Miss Angeles. So very cute as well, I may add. Here we have Miss Vanessa.
Hi, my name is Vanessa, and here is my red blood project. And as you can see here, we have our red candies, which represent red blood cells. And here we have our marshmallows, which represent the white blood cells. And water represents blood, which is 91%. Food coloring represents hemoglobin. Cornstarch represents platelets. Corn syrup represents plasma. And one fact is that 1.5 gallons of blood is in our body. And another fact is plasma carries nutrients. Bye!
Excellent, Miss Vanessa. Thank you for sharing that with us. Here we have Mr. Christopher.
I'm Mr. Ritsky.
Hi, Christopher.
And I'm gonna do the blood you told us to do. And here it is. You could see it change a little bit on the bottom. You could see how it was when we did it. And I'm gonna go over the things we did. So we used the hot chocolate powder for the platelets. Then we used the cornstarch, and we used it for the white blood cells. Then we used the corn syrup for the plasma, and then we used the red food coloring for the red blood cells. And the two things I know is about blood is that it comes from bones, and there's 4 different components. Okay, and thank you for watching, Mr. Risky. Bye.
You got it, Christopher. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing that.
So, Mr. Ratiska, this is my blood video.
Mr. Valley. Good consistency, Miss Arelli. So parents, if you didn't get to see your child's work on the video, no worries, but just know I had just such a wonderful time in visiting with them, and I loved seeing Christopher's siblings and Areli's siblings, and Araya, you are so funny. Arzola, you're a beast to cahoot. And thank you just so much, everybody, for sharing so much. In the 3rd week, we did talk about the lungs and how the air we breathe is going to be getting exchanged in those capillaries, which are grape-like structures at the very end of those little branches. So we did make a model Here we see Areli's example, Miss Joanna's example, and what they did is they were to pull down the bottom of the balloon. In Areli's example, that would be the orange part, and then the blue would expand, showing how the diaphragm is going to allow the air to come in. Here we have Miss Jaden's example and Ethan's example. You guys, it was so rich being with you these past 3 weeks. I hope to see you guys next year in person. And until then, keep on doing science, and we'll see you next year. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.